Hi guys, it's Jodie and welcome to a new video. So today I have some witchy book recommendations for you guys, and I'm really excited because I love my witchy books, but I do struggle to find fiction ones that I like, and I just haven't dipped into enough of them really. So I have actually bought a lot more recently that I am going to be reading soon. So even though it's spooky season now, maybe in like a few months time I will do a kind of spooky witchy book video again. Yes, I do have this stack here that I'm going to talk to you guys about today. I may potentially be forgetting or leaving out certain books, but that is because I'm still in the process of setting up my library, so there may be the odd book missing, and I'm sorry if there is. And just before we get into the video, I do want to let you guys know that there will be another witchy book recommendations video coming soon, but that will be filled with all the witchy books that I own but haven't read and want to read. So that will give you guys some ideas for other witchy books to read, so do look out for that video as well. But yes, let's get straight into this video. So the first book is a super obvious one, and it's one that pretty much I feel like everyone on BookTube, BookTok and just generally has read, and it's a YA book, and some people love it and some people hate it. I read this last year and I absolutely loved it and I flew through it, and I've been meaning to reread this book for the past few months so I can read the second and third one, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I adored this, I found it so funny, and it's not often for me that a YA book can make me laugh, so yeah, I just adore it. And that is Serpent Dove by Shelby Mahurin. So yes, this is a very well loved book in the book community, and I feel like I don't really need to go into this too much, but basically we follow Louise LeBlanc, and Louise is a witch, and she actually fled her coven 2 years ago because her mother is, let's just say, not a nice person. She's very powerful, and I think she's in charge of her coven, and pretty sure her mum wants to do something horrible with her anyway, and that's why she flees. So she flees her coven along with her best friend, I believe, as well, and in doing so she forsakes all magic. So the town that she ends up moving to is a very kind of superstitious town, and generally people hate witches, and there are witch hunters who find witches and basically burn them. And then we have a chasseur called Reed, and he is basically a witch hunter. So he is in this religious group from the church who hunt witches and kill them basically. And then somehow his and Louise pass across, and he doesn't know that she's a witch, but they end up having to get married. So we have that whole like marriage trope, and that's one of my favorite tropes. And there's obviously this very ancient war between the church and witches, and Louise is kind of in the middle of it. She's trying not to get discovered, but she's also trying to figure out something that's going on. It's been a while since I read this, so I can't remember what the other kind of plot is, but basically she ends up developing feelings for him, and yeah, it's just a really good book. It's enemies to lovers, we've got the fake kind of marriage trope, we've got all of just the really good cliche YA things that I love personally, and the main character Louise is so funny in my opinion. Like, I found her hilarious. I love the romance, the banter, the world, the magic. It was just all so much fun. So yeah, I definitely do recommend this one. It's just a really fun romantic witchy book. Then next is one of my all-time favorite books, and the sequel comes out soon, so it's even more perfect to recommend for this time of year, and that's Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. So this one is I would say more new adult. It's fantasy basically, but it's also been in YA boxes before, so I got one in a fairy loot, and yeah, it's kind of in between. So this one doesn't have anything spicy in it really, but I believe the second book is going to have a lot of spice, which is what we like. But yeah, anyway, back to Kingdom of the Wicked. Love this book. Still can't wrap my head around the ending though, I'm not gonna lie. It was 4 stars for me just because the ending, I don't know what to make of it. I guess when I read the second book it will make more sense to me. But basically in this book we have a witch and a prince of hell. Need I say more? So in this we follow Amelia, and Amelia is a witch, and her sister is murdered along with some other witches where she lives. She lives in a town in Italy, and Amelia is devastated at the fact obviously that her twin has been murdered, and she then goes on this quest to figure out who is murdering these women and who murdered her sister and get her vengeance. To do this she calls upon some dark magic, and eventually she ends up meeting Wrath, and Wrath is a prince of hell. So she and Wrath embark on this kind of journey together to discover who the killer is. There's a bit more of a conspiracy theory to it, We've kind of got his like other brothers involved, and like a kind of prophecy as well. And yeah, so that's what I'm gonna say about this book. Just read it, it's so friggin' good. Wrath is just wow. Like, look at this man. If you're gonna read it for any reason, it just needs to be for this reason right here. Seriously, just love this so much. Can't wait for the second one. It comes out very soon, so I would highly recommend reading this book before that one comes out, and it's just perfect for spooky season. Then next, of course, we have A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. Now, if all of the tabs in this book do not show how much I love this, then I don't know what will. I really loved this when I read this last year or the year before. This I read for the real-time read-along. So every year the author hosts this real-time read-along where you read specific chapters on specific dates that they take place in the book as well. So it's really cool. It has already started this year, I believe, and I believe this may be my Patreon buddy read for October. So if you're interested in reading this or joining my Patreon and doing a buddy read, then check out the description box, because so far this is winning to be next month's book. So this will be a reread for me next month, and I'm so excited. This is basically a romance between a witch and a vampire. If you have seen the TV show, then you'll know what this is about. I would actually recommend watching maybe a couple of episodes of the TV show and then reading this, just so you can get a sense of it and understand how it works, because this is very insta-lovey. That is kind of how things happen with vampires and witches, and that's just like the connection that happens for them is so intense that it is insta-love. So if you watch the show, you will get that. This is a very cliche, like it's got a lot of cliches, and the insta-love, people really don't like that when they read this sometimes, but as a whole, this is just so good. I love this. The romance in it is so good. I love the characters. We follow Diana Bishop, who is a witch, and her mother and father were murdered when she was a child, and she has kind of forsaken all magic as a result, because they were also witches and they were killed for being witches. So she has nothing to do with her magic. She's not interested, and people keep like trying to get her to like join the coven and stuff like that, and she's just not interested. So she is actually a professor at Oxford, and she studies alchemy, and one day she's studying for this like I think she's writing some kind of paper, and she takes out this manuscript called Ashmole what is it, 782 or something. She takes out this Ashmole manuscript anyway, and it turns out that it's this manuscript that's been lost for thousands of years. It actually talks about the creation of vampires, and people think it has the secret to like reversing vampires, making sure they don't exist anymore, because typically vampires and witches just don't like each other. So witches are after it for that reason. Vampires are after it because they actually are struggling to sire people, like turn people into vampires, so they want to see if that holds kind of information into their creation and the creation of all magical creatures. Matthew, our love interest in here, studies DNA, and he's a biologist, and he's studying the DNA of magical creatures and witches and vampires and things like that, and he's trying to figure out what's going on because magical creatures as a whole are actually dying out. So obviously he sought this book for a long time, lots of other people have, and no one's ever been able to find it, and somehow Diana is able to conjure it from the library, and she touches it, realizes it's magical, and she's like, absolutely not, back you go, and she sends it back, and then no one else can find it, and she then becomes like a magnet for magical creatures. They sense the book and they all want it, and they want Diana to be able to get to the book. So yeah, there's a lot of different things going on. Her and Matthew kind of meet and start to develop a bit of a romance, but there is a lot more to it than it seems, and Diana is actually a super powerful witch, and it's such a good book because we see Diana grow as a person. She learns to accept her witchiness and become who she really is, and gets all these really super cool powers. And honestly, I just love this book. The setting as well with Oxford is absolutely incredible. It starts in, I think this starts in September in the book, so you go through like the autumn seasons, and we are in Oxford, there's Scotland. Oh, it's just so good. Like, I love it so much. And yeah, I could talk about this book all day. Like, seriously, just read it or watch a couple of episodes of the TV show, because the TV show is amazing, and then give this a go. Like I said, just accept that it's insta love, look past that and enjoy it. It's amazing. Highly recommend. Then next we have The Price Guide to the Occult by Leslie Walton. So this is actually a book that I gave 3 stars, but I do feel like a lot of people would really enjoy. I honestly don't remember a lot of it. I just remember it was a really cool witchy story. It was really unique. We follow someone called Nor Blackburn in here, and she just wants to live a normal life. She doesn't want to be a witch, and her mum's actually, I think, quite like a horrible witch. She takes advantage of a lot of people as well, and she's a descendant of a witch called Rona Blackburn who famously cursed her family over a century ago. She always hopes that one day she'll be able to escape this curse. And then there's like this mysterious book that promises she cast any spell for the right price, and the author turns out to be her mother. And this is like magic that her mother should not be able to do, and it is very dark, dangerous magic and requires a sacrifice. That sacrifice seems to be Nor. So yeah, it's a really interesting book, and just like quite a unique witchy one. And yeah, it's just like a really fun, quick witchy book, and I love this cover. This cover is just so beautiful, and I do just feel like a lot of people would really enjoy this, especially if you're just looking for something quick and witchy and spooky. It's very like main character driven as well, then this would be a good one to read. So this next one isn't necessarily witchy, but when you read non-fiction witchy books, quite often some Greek goddesses are mentioned in there, and they are depicted as magical beings and witches as well. And one of those famous witches is actually Circe. So Circe is quite often referenced in some books to do with witchcraft and magic, because she is able to kind of, I can't remember because it was a while since I read this, but I'm pretty sure she can like turn men into pigs or something, and like she can just do all these kind of magical things. So she's quite often referenced in some like witchcraft text. That's why I've decided to include this book in this recommendations video. I really love this book. I love Madeline Miller's writing. Madeline Miller is an absolutely incredible writer. She just has the most stunning lyrical writing, and if that's not enough to convince you to pick up one of her books, I don't know what is. Honestly, just such beautiful writing, and she's so good at getting you to get very invested in the characters. And I was so invested with Circe in her story. We follow Circe from kind of a very powerless, helpless woman at the start, and by the end she's this really strong, independent girl boss, and it's just such an amazing story. And there are a lot of trigger warnings in this book for so many different things. It's very dark, very intense at times, and very not nice to read sometimes as well. So if you are thinking of picking this book up, then please check out the trigger warnings first. But this does have those kind of witchy vibes to it, and it is just such an incredible book. And honestly, I cannot recommend this enough, especially because I know at the moment lots of people started reading Song of Achilles, as they should, and there's just a huge hype for Song of Achilles at the moment. So if you really enjoyed it and you like Madeline Miller's writing, then please do pick up Circe, because it is an incredible book, and it's just such an amazing, empowering story in my opinion. And yeah, it's just such a good read. Highly recommend. Then next we have a recent read of mine, which is The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. So this cover is one of my all-time favorite book covers, but the naked book, just wow, just so beautiful. So I read this as one of my Patreon buddy reads in August, I think it was now, last month, and I really enjoyed this. I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 stars. This book was just so beautifully written and had so many incredible messages, and I just definitely recommend this book for any time of the year. The magic system in this book is so unique and so well done. It is very realistic to me in terms of witchcraft was ever to exist in real life, in terms of magical abilities, and the way it is in here. I just think this is what it'd be like. I just feel like it's just, you read it and you can believe it, and it's just so well done. And I just think it's so interesting how tied the magic is to nature and the seasons. We have seasonal magic in here, so generally witches are tied to a season and they get their powers and abilities in that season, and they use those abilities to make sure things are good with the earth for the humans. And so like they will control certain weather and things like that. The humans are very sadly destroying the planet, as they are in real life. Witches are trying to keep the balance. They're kind of trying to, like, you know, stop the earth from dying, and humans aren't really listening and stuff, and you know, witches are dying, and it's just a tough time and things are not going well. Things are getting worse and worse. There's more natural disasters and there's just not enough witches to stop it. And in this we have Clara, and Clara is actually a very rare witch called an Ever Witch, and she has the power of all 4 seasons, and people think that she's going to be the one to fix everything, but unfortunately with these powers they are very erratic and she does not have control over them, and she kind of doesn't really want much to do with her magic. She doesn't want to unlock its full potential or anything because some very sad things have happened in her past because of her magic, and I found that aspect of this so like emotive, and it was just really good. It made you feel for her, and yeah, it added so much to the story. But yeah, basically we have her, and with each season she's growing more as a witch, and there's romance in here as well. The romance for me would have been better, but it was still a really cute romance, and it was just so good to watch the main character grow. The magic was amazing, the witchy vibes, just everything in this book is just so good, and there's so many amazing quotes in here and so many important references to climate change that can apply to reality as well, which I just thought was amazing. There's a lot of kind of activism in here, and I just think it's an incredible book and just a really amazingly written book, and like I said, just some beautiful quotes and writing, and I just really enjoyed this and would highly recommend it as a good witchy book. So this next one is Winterwood by Shea Earnshaw. Now the main character in here isn't necessarily a witch, but kind of is. It's really hard to explain exactly, but in this we follow Nora Walker, and the Walker women have this like really deep connection to the woods, so the Winterwood where she lives, and she lives in this little cabin, and this is just the most atmospheric cozy book ever. Like this is the perfect book to read in autumn and winter. Like honestly, this was just, oh, I enjoyed this so much. I read it last winter, but it was just the perfect book for this time of year, like just amazing. And this writer, her writing is just stunning. Like I love her writing so much, and I just really enjoyed this book. And in this we have Nora, and she meets this boy called Oliver. So basically he goes into the Winterwood one night and he disappears, and he's missing for like 2 weeks, and then he just randomly shows up in the middle of the worst snowstorm ever. They're all snowed in, and he has no idea what's happened to him at all. Like he's so confused, he doesn't remember anything, and he should be dead basically. Nora can just feel this weird like unease with the woods, and something's just not quite right. She ends up growing really close to Oliver, and then she needs to figure out exactly what happened when he went into the woods and get to the bottom of it. And the more she does that, the more she is learning, and it's intense. Basically there's a lot of secrets in here, and it almost has a thriller element to it as well. So good. Like I don't want to say anything else to give anything away, but honestly guys, read this book. This book is so atmospheric and it's just incredible. It's not straight up witchy, but it is like witchy. If you read it, you'll know what I mean. So next we have The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. So this was another book I read with my patrons earlier this year, and I think I gave this like 3 stars as well. I really enjoyed this because it's set on a campus, and a campus setting is always just so interesting, and it kind of does give a little bit of dark academia, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I liked it for that aspect. In this we follow a sorority of witches, and we have a few different characters that it follows in here. So we have Vivi and Scarlet, and I just really didn't like Scarlet's chapters, they were so boring, but in the end I did come to like her. And we follow these 2 different witches, and Vivi didn't really know she was a witch, and then she finds out that she is. But then there's like this really wicked kind of witch and power going around campus, something bad's happening, so all the witches kind of have to come together to figure out like what the hell is going on. And there's this huge kind of like a mystery element that was so cool, and like someone has like some form of vendetta against them, and it was just really good. It has a really good like kind of friendship, like sisterhood dynamics to it, and like the campus setting was really cool. Seeing Vivi get her powers and like become a witch was really fun, and there's just lots of cool things, in the mystery element and the whole vendetta against them and someone's after them thing was just so thrilling. So this is just like a really fun like witchy book to read, especially if you're into like dual paths, witchiness, a campus setting and like spooky vibes and a bit of like a thriller element to it, then you will definitely really enjoy this one. And it's just a really fun witchy book. Okay, so this next one isn't necessarily witchy, but it gives me those kind of vibes, and that is Bone Crier's Moon. So in this we follow, I can't remember her name, it's been a while since I read this. We follow Elise, and she's been prepared since birth to become one of the Bone Criers, and to complete a rite of passage to do that, she has to kill the boy she's destined to love. And then we have the boy who's called Bastien, and his father was killed by Bone Criers. Him and his two friends decide they're gonna like go and kill the Bone Criers that they know are going to be in a certain place. Little does he know that the Bone Crier destined to kill him, so it seems, is there on this bridge. And yeah, so all hell breaks loose, and then she kind of gets taken. Does she get taken captive? I'm pretty sure she does. Gets taken captive, and then we have her best friend Sabine, who's also trying to find her. And then there's like a kind of enemies to lovers thing going on, and loads of kind of like a conspiracy as well. And yeah, it's just a really cool magic system in here, and like the kind of romance thing as well. Like, it's just a really good story, and it gives me witchy vibes, and I just think it's such a fun fantasy. It's YA, the romance is good, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to reading the second book, but I feel like this is a really good book to read this time of year as well. And then lastly, I do have this book here. So I haven't finished this, but and I'm only 20 pages into it, but if you're looking for a non-fiction book, then I would already recommend this book, because in those 20 pages I've just learned so much, and I'm just fascinated, and I just think this is really, really fun. So this is A History of Magic, Witchcraft and the Occult, and this is by DK Publishers. So yeah, if you are looking for a non-fiction book that's illustrated, then I would recommend this book as well. But yes, those are all of my witchy book recommendations. Like I said, do look out for the witchy books I want to read video come soon, with some more recommendations. Even though I won't have read them, I will talk about them, and they may give you guys kind of ideas of books you might want to read as well. So that will be coming very, very soon, and I'm excited for that one. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books and what your thoughts were on them, or if you have any witchy book recommendations, please do leave them down below. If you made it to the end of this video, leave a witchy emoji in the comments as well, and give it a big thumbs up. That was so cheesy, but yeah, witchy books just make me really happy apparently. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I will have all of the books linked in the description box, along with all my social medias and the link to my Patreon, where you can get early access to my videos. You can get extra reading vlogs and general content from me, such as behind the scenes photos and things like that. We also do a monthly buddy read, so next month we should be reading A Discovery of Witches potentially, and we also have a Discord where we chat as well, so I would love to have you there if you would like to join. But yes, that's all for now. I hope that you're safe and well. I hope you're reading lots of good books, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!